Ladies and gentlemen, all of our families have been seated. We'd like to invite mothers with children to go ahead and please fill in the extra seats at this time. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the memorial service in honor of the Marines of Marine Heavy Helicopter Squadron 463, Marine Aircraft Group 24, 1st Marine Aircraft Wing. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for our national anthem.
Good morning. You're invited to pray with me in your faith tradition as I'll be praying in mine. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we pause in this holy moment to acknowledge your presence here with us. You are the living God presently and actively comforting us during this awful and horrific tragedy. When we are hurting, angry, lonely, or tired, we know we can come to you. And so we do, as we remember and honor the lives of our loved ones we miss so dearly here today. In John 14 and 16, we read, Holy Spirit, where you are our comforter and counselor. Right now, O God, we need you more than ever to be those things to us. And because in your presence we find peace, I pray a special awareness of your presence right now for everyone affected by what's happened. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Right.
Our first reading is from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verses 1 through 8, and is read by Corporal Lazenby. To everything there is a season, a purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what has been planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Our second reading is from Psalm 23 and will be read by Corporal Tyree.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me. For your rod, your staff, they comfort me. Prepare your table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, the commanding officer of Marine Heavy Helicopter Squadron 463, Lieutenant Colonel Eric D. Purcell.
Families of our fallen Marines, distinguished visitors, Pegasus Marines and sailors, Pegasus family members, and honored guests, thank you for coming to the memorial service to honor our fallen brothers. Thank you for sharing in our grief. Thank you for taking time to honor the Marines of Pegasus 3-1 and Pegasus 3-2. As I look into the crowd, I can see that this tragedy has affected the entire community. Amongst the crowd, particularly off to my right, I can see many of the individuals who participate in the search and rescue effort. I'd like to take a moment to offer our thanks to the Coast Guard, Navy, Army, Marines, Honolulu Fire, Honolulu Police, and others who did everything possible to find our Marines, to find our fallen brothers. I would like to thank Marine Corps Base Hawaii staff, MAG 24, and 1st MAW for everything you have done for 463, and most importantly, for our families sitting here center stage in the front. During times of crisis, true champions rise to the top, and I think you all have. Last Thursday night, 12 of our brothers died during a training mission designed to hone their skills for battle. The sadness that this loss brings to their families and to this squadron is immeasurable. They were in the prime of their life, full of joy and hope, only to be taken from us in an instant. Logic cannot help us understand the details of this tragedy, but we can lean on each other for support. We all grieve, and rightly so. These were men who their families and our country relied upon. The purpose of a memorial can be debated, but in my opinion, a memorial should not only commemorate the lives of the fallen, the recently departed, but also serve as the first step in the healing process for those of us who remain behind. Our lives have been indelibly marked for the better by the brave souls who perished aboard Pegasus 3-1 and 3-2. In order to ensure that they are not forgotten, we mustn't be scared to speak of them. The more we speak of their deeds, their lives, their actions, and their sacrifices, the more that we will ensure that those sacrifices and their memory live on. In doing so, we can also begin the long, slow healing process. On Thursday afternoon, I addressed my squadron and told them my philosophy for command. Mission first, Marines and families always. Understanding the mission that they were doing is going to be critical to coming to terms with their absence. Though the tragedy of this mishap cannot be denied, it was not senseless. It wasn't pointless. There's a Latin quote that gives me a small measure of comfort in times like these. Sic vis pacem, para bellum. Loosely translated, it means, if you seek peace, train for war. Every night, CH-53 pilots, crew chiefs, and aerial gunners man their aircraft, don their night vision goggles, and take to the skies to ensure that we're trained to do our mission, to provide assault transport of heavy equipment, combat troops. By preparing for war, ready for war when our nation is least ready for war. Though our brothers may not have fallen in combat, their sacrifices and willingness to train at any time, under any condition, have undoubtedly contributed to our nation's defense and to deterring our nation's foes. Mission first, Marines and family always. Now let's reflect upon the Marines and the families of Pegasus 3-1 and Pegasus 3-2. Pegasus 3-1 was crewed by 6 exemplary Marines. Captain Kevin Red Time Roach. He was the epitome of a selfless leader, a skilled aviator, and an instructor. He was a son to Stephen and Catherine Roach, a boyfriend to Catherine Taylor, a brother to Brian, Sean, Karen, and to every single Marine in HMH 463. Red Time, we salute you. We miss you. Captain Brian, Kenny with an exclamation point, Kennedy. He was a 46 pilot originally. For those that know aviation, the rivalry between 46 pilots and 53 pilots runs long and deep. Despite this, he managed to turn himself into one of the most liked pilots in my ready room. That ought to tell you everything you need to know about the sort of person Kenny was. Besides being a leader in our ready room, He was a husband to Paige, a fellow Marine aviator, the son of Bill and Linda Kennedy, a brother to Caitlin, and all of the Marines in HMH 463. Kenny, we salute you. We miss you. Sergeant Jeffrey Sempler, known to his buddies in the Flightline Division as Creature. He was one of our go-to crew chiefs, one of the most highly qualified, highly trained aviators that we had in our Flightline Division. He was a son to Lori Allen, stepson to Jeremy Bouvier, son of Gary Sempler, brother to Spencer, and a brother to each and every one of us in this squadron. Jeffrey, we miss you. We salute you. Corporal Matthew Drown, Matt, also sometimes called Drizzy. He was one of our most eager maintainers. If we had an aircraft that needed fixing, he was the first one to volunteer to go fix it and to find one of his junior Marines to take along, to train him, to mentor him. He was a son to Rebecca Drown, son to Raymond Drown, brother to Sean, and to all the Marines in HMH 463. Matt, we salute you. We miss you. Corporal Thomas Jardis, Tommy, one of the hardest working Marines we had with a relentlessly positive attitude. He was a son to Timothy Jardis and Beth Haley, brother to Haley, and to every one of us here. Tommy, we miss you. We salute you. Lance Corporal Ty Hart, one of the most junior Marines in our Flightline Division. He was nearly complete with his plane captain syllabus. Volunteered for everything. Wanted to fix everything. Wanted to learn everything. Always had a smile on his face. Known for a strong work ethic. He was married to his high school sweetheart, a beautiful young lady named Hannah. He was the son to Mike and Trina, incredible people. And he was a brother to everyone in this squadron. Ty, we miss you. We salute you. Pegasus 3-2, also crewed by 6 exemplary Marines. Captain Stephen Hangman Torbert. Every pilot's call sign has a good story. Unfortunately, Hangman's story is not mine to tell. Hangman was a talented aviator, also one of our lead instructors. He was a husband to Kirsten, a father to young William. He was a son to Jim and Sherry Torbert, a very devout couple from Alabama. And he was a brother to everyone in this squadron. Hangman, we miss you. We salute you. Major Sean NAFTA Campbell. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with the North American Free Trade Act. He was our squadron's maintenance officer, a consummate professional. Could be relied upon to get anything done, and always in the most professional manner. He's a loyal husband to Kelly, and a father to Tristan, Kenna, Kate, and Donovan. Son of Donna McGrew and Don and Mary Campbell, and a brother to every one of us in 463. NAFTA, we miss you. We salute you. Sergeant Dylan Semolina, known as D-Dog to those who were closest to him. Apparently had a knack for sneaking out of the barracks while he was in Australia, where he met his wife, one of the most strong-willed and devoted wives I've ever met, Lori. He was a son to Lisa and Sergeant Mike Dela Cruz. He was a brother to Isabella, who prefers to go by Bella, a brother to Gregory, and to all the Marines in 463. D-Dog, Dylan, we miss you. We salute you. Sergeant William Turner, who goes by Josh, family tradition, calling people by their middle initial. He was a weapons and tactics instructor, a leader within our Flightline Division. He was a husband to Elizabeth Turner, also one of the sweetest young ladies I met. On the first night, she came up to me and said, "Sir, can I hire a helicopter? Can I do something? What can I do to help find them?" Absolutely devoted. He was a son to William Turner and Geneva Walker. and a brother to every one of us. Josh, we miss you and salute you. Sergeant Adam Scholler, a relatively new addition to our squadron, but one who brought incredible talents, incredible insights, and ideas from New River. He was a husband to Samantha, who's tried to be a rock throughout all of this. Son to Lori and Ralph Scholler, who also offered to hire any sort of boat out of Haleiwa, whatever they could do to help search for their son and our fallen brothers. He was a brother to Colin and Shannon and to every one of us. Adam, we miss you and salute you. Corporal Christopher Orlando, a Marine with impressive talents, a phenomenal mechanic, amazing air crewman, but one who, according to all accounts, didn't have quite the same wicked awesome Boston accent that his parents did. Richard and Linda Orlando. He was a brother to Colin, Shannon, and to every single Marine in this squadron. Chris, we miss you. We salute you. God bless our fallen warriors, dedicated to protecting our country and our way of life. God bless the families of our fallen brothers. God bless the Marines of HMH 463. The road to recovery is not going to be easy, but by relying upon each other, remembering the deeds of our fallen brothers, embracing their legacy, will ensure that we persevere and that they are not forgotten. The last stanza of the Marines hymn says that if the Army and the Navy ever look on heaven's scenes, they'll find the streets are guarded by United States Marines. Well, St. Peter, you've got 12 of our finest. Semper Fidelis.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Marines of HMH 463 would like to spend a few minutes sharing some reflections of our fallen Marines.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Captain Chris Wallace, and I'm here today to talk about my good friend, Captain Kevin Red Time Roche. I first met Kevin when we were in flight school together, learning how to fly instruments for the first time. After our first meeting, we quickly became fast friends. The two of us were in different training squadrons all through flight school, but managed to run into each other again at HMH 302 when we were learning to fly the venerable 53E. Kevin and I had the difficult task of being assigned as 53 pilots in Hawaii. I know, we both thought it was going to be a really rough life out here. In Hawaii, Kevin and I worked our way diligently to learn the 53 Delta, only to find out that we were going to remain Echo pilots. As we began training, we continually remained neck and neck as we progressed through the syllabus. I would have never told Kevin this, but I looked up to him. He was one of the best of us, constantly studying and working to make himself better as a pilot and as a Marine officer. Just over a year ago, Kevin was selected to attend the Weapons and Tactics Instructor course, and none of us were surprised. He was one of the most dedicated and professional pilots that I have ever had the privilege of knowing and serving with. Last spring, I was selected to attend that same course. I tried to track down Kevin to give him one of those vice grip handshakes before I left because I knew he'd be deployed by the time that I got back from Arizona. As luck would have it, though, I just missed him. But he sent me a text that read, "Well, bro, I won't get to see you before you leave. I'm not going to do a big pep talk. You know you've earned it to get to this point. Learn all you can. Be receptive. Remember all the good WTIs we had growing up, and that this isn't for you, but for all the aircraft commanders and co-pilots after us. Call me if you need anything." That was Kevin, though. He never cared about himself. He was always more concerned with the future of the Marines and the squadron. Kevin wanted to leave this place better than when he found it because he knew he had been entrusted with that duty from our former instructors and the pilots that had gone before us. I wish Kevin were standing here today so that I could tell him that he had succeeded. Every young pilot looked up to him in the squadron, including me. As one of his co-pilots from Australia put it, Kevin always made time to check in on the new guys to make sure they were adjusting to squadron life and doing well in their own syllabus progression. This motivated him to work harder than he ever thought imaginable, if for the simple fact that that pilot didn't want to let Kevin down. Kevin also had the uncanny ability to relate to all the pilots and aircrew that he interacted with, unless, of course, it had to do with football. The only real football in his mind was soccer. Sports, only as long as they dealt with some sort of bike riding. And the movie Top Gun, which to my understanding was Kevin's favorite movies. I can't confirm or deny that we watched that movie with no shirts and just dog tags on one time. But I can tell you that he knew that movie inside and out. Kevin, if you were standing here today, I would tell you that you've succeeded, where so many of us could only hope to succeed. You gained the respect and gratitude of every one of us in the squadron, from the pilots you've flown with, taught, and mentored, to the aircrew whose trust is inherently sacred to all of us as pilots. Kevin, you're one of my best friends, and I'm truly going to miss you, man. I'm going to miss our scotch drinking and cigar nights where we would try to solve the problems of the world or just try to relax after a long day. I can only hope that this short reflection does some small justice to the Marine officer that you were. Kevin, you are and will always be my brother. Semper Fidelis.
Trying to put this into words has been difficult. There's no way in my mind to do Brian Kennedy's life justice. This is both my fellow pilots and my attempt to reflect on the impact Brian made on all of our lives. I worked with Brian as his assistant OIC of airframes before his deployment. We kept in touch via email while he was in Australia, and we worked in operations after his return. Before I met Brian, I was told he was a no-nonsense, no-fooling-around, hard-to-the-bone Marine. Well, that last statement is true. He is a Marine. But I came to find out everything else couldn't be further from the truth. Kenny, as we all began to affectionately call him, had an amazing ability to create such personal friendships with all of us. I spent multiple late nights and weekends planning flights with him. We always had our Tenacious D playing, and we usually were taking a few too many breaks to laugh about something completely irrelevant. The inside jokes we all had seemed endless. The Lego Man handshakes, the sharing of curs, the air fives, the Creed voice, the desk nuts, which are literally just peanuts you keep in your desk for when you are hungry. He would actually make helicopter sounds over the radio while flying. You would be flying along and all of a sudden hear pop. Everyone was excited to see their names on the schedule with him. There was never a dull moment, to say the least. They all meant something to each of us, and they all meant something to him. Brian was very proud to have been with the Frog community, flying with the Purple Foxes prior to his transition to the Super Stallion and becoming a Pegasus. He cared deeply about what he did, and he cared even more about those whom he worked with. If he could help you, he would. But more importantly, if he could teach you, he would jump at the chance. He believed in the fundamentals. He believed in practice made perfect. He believed what he learned as a Frog pilot would make him and others great as 53 pilots as well. Brian was an inspirational leader and larger in life as a personality. He had a genuine love for his Marines and friends. He had a natural ability to light up a room whenever he walked in, and he always had something funny to say that would have the Ready Room almost in tears. He invested in all of us. With every job he had, he invested in HMH 463, the pilots, the crew chiefs, the maintainers, his friends, family, all of us. He wanted to know your name, he wanted to know about you, and he definitely wanted to know something that would make you laugh. He was a great friend and will be missed dearly by each one of us. Semper Fidelis.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lance Corporal Kyle Owens, and I'm here today to reflect on the life of an amazing Marine, Sergeant Jeffrey A. Sempler. Jeffrey Sempler was a quiet man who kept to himself, was extremely intelligent, and very good at his job. When I first checked into HMH 463, Sergeant Sempler was away at Yuma, Arizona for the WTI course. I heard much about him, though. From the moment I arrived, people compared me to him, saying that I was going to be brought up to be like him in our shop. He soon came back from Yuma as a fully qualified WTI, filling a very important role in our unit as he assumed the duties of managing our aircrew training and writing the daily flight schedule. As I got to know him, I found that despite his seniority and rank, we had many of the same interests in video games, movies, and things of that sort. We also both had a sweet tooth. Jeff always seemed to have a bag of hard candies with him on every flight. His love of sweets and snacks was so great that he actually earned the nickname Snacks during his time on the 31st Mew. He also got the nickname Creature from his buddies during that time for just acting weird on the ship. Since Jeff was an instructor, I usually found myself flying with him often, usually 3 to 4 times a week during the summer of 2015, and he was an excellent teacher. One of my first flights with him was a gun shoot, where he taught me the basics of using the 50 cals on our aircraft. I was kind of surprised because typically, as a newer crew chief, you don't use the guns until you have a little more experience. However, with Jeff Sempler next to me, I put rounds out the window successfully and safely, and still to this day fondly remember the flight. We flew a lot together. Since he wrote the daily schedule, he always seemed to put me on with him. He also loved to ride on the ramp of the aircraft. Whenever I was with him, I knew I could look over my shoulder and see him sitting on that ramp Indian style or laying down waiting for us to take off. He ruled from the ramp. On the weekends and off time, he would usually hang out in the barracks or in his room, play video games and watch TV. He also loved living in the Hawaiian Islands, though, seeing and exploring cool new places around the islands. When we'd fly, he'd point out cool things and places to see on our off time as we passed over them. A few weeks ago, our unit sent 2 aircraft and a bunch of Marines to the Big Island for some training and a weekend trip. That Sunday, Sempler and I got a van and drove all over the island. We explored a bunch of places that we'd seen coming in from the air and other places that we heard of from tourists. Sergeant Sempler's biggest impact on this unit, though, especially for the newer crew chiefs, was his role as a teacher. Jeff told me many times how much he loved teaching people, and these were not idle words, as he demonstrated this every day. Almost every week, he would try to organize aircrew training for stuff like disassembling and cleaning our weapons or how to mount them in the windows. There were also many times where he and I would stay for hours after a flight just to go over knowledge with him while doing a daily inspection. He was the kind of guy who wouldn't complain, but would simply stay until the work was done. As time went on, Jeff's EAS date became closer and closer. He was trying to re-enlist, but told me that if he did have to get out, he wanted to become an English teacher. His top choice of re-enlistment was to become a crew chief instructor at HMHT 302, the training squadron responsible for training new crew chiefs and pilots. Like I said before, Jeff was a very different kind of guy, but only in the best way possible. His teaching spirit, kind attitude, and complete and utter confidence in his knowledge and his ability made him one of the nicest, most approachable people in our unit. His loss is devastating for both the Pegasus family and the Marine Corps as a whole. He will be missed dearly by all, and the world is a lesser place without him. May he rest in peace and fly above us with God on the ramp. Thank you. Semper Fidelis.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to thank every one of you for your support and prayers through these difficult times. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sergeant Story. I've had the honor and privilege of serving alongside of and flying with each one of these Marines we are here to commemorate today. I'd like to focus in on a certain individual in these next few moments. To sum up what Corporal Drown meant to myself, the Pegasus family, and his loved ones in a few short paragraphs is merely impossible. Still not quite used to him being gone yet. Anyone who knew Matt knew he was quite the character, a very bro guy, if you will. Drown loved his job, and even though his enlistment was almost up, he had plans to re-enlist on the upcoming months, which takes a special dedication.
But I will tell you that as Marines, we are charged with guarding the streets of heaven. And so my goodbye is always this, a prayer. Let us pray. Father, remember your son, your faithful servant. He is a Marine, and he has kept his covenant with you. We thank you for loaning him to us for this short time, for letting your servant defend our own streets, and for shedding your light on us through him. We understand now, Father, that you have called him to fulfill his duty and guard your own streets. And we pray now that you take him into your home and you give him a shady street to guard, so that he may continue his good and faithful service. And that when it is our own time to be called home, that you continue to remember your covenant, and that you give us a street right next to Steve's, our brother. Amen. Semper Fidelis.
Good morning. My name is Dan Fitzpatrick. I'm one of Sean Campbell's many friends. Sean was known affectionately by us as NAFTA, not another Texas Aggie. You can fill in the blank. I wasn't there when Sean earned his call sign, but my guess is that his CO at the time was either a Longhorn or a Baylor Bear. He couldn't take being surrounded by such quality Marines. But Sean was more than just another Texas Aggie. I first met him 2 summers ago. We were relearning the CH-53 while our wives packed up our household goods and started our journeys to Hawaii without us. Although Sean and I came from vastly different backgrounds, we found ourselves hundreds of miles from our families, nearly helpless in the effort to assist our wives in the move, and in a BOQ with nothing to do but study and talk. Our friendship was nearly instantaneous. We spent many nights studying, but the topics usually shifted quickly to debates like Yingling versus Shinerbach, or the Big Ten versus the SEC. But we always talked about family, and I truly felt like I knew Kelly and the kids before we ever actually met. When we finished up in July, he gave me a hug, looked at me with his genuine smirk/smile, slightly tilted head, and said, "Good luck with the move, brother. I'll see you in Hawaii." A few weeks later, when I was juggling a couple of toddlers and a black lab in a sweltering hotel room, my wife Robin walked in with a huge smile on her face and said, "Well, I just met Sean, and I'm pretty sure that Kelly and the kids were down by the pool." When I asked her how she knew, she said, "Well, a guy with a short haircut and a big smile pulled up in a minivan filled to the brim with luggage." But it wasn't for a couple of days before I finally saw the Texas come out in NAFTA. He was itching for a truck. Parking was pretty limited at the hotel. It was quite small, as most of the parking is around here. So why not get an extended cab F-150? He spent the day finding it, but he was excited. That smile was even bigger. So I proceeded to give him a hard time, tell him how impractical it was. And he said, "Hey, I'm a family of 6. We can all fit in it. And besides, it's necessary, and it's not just for me, it's for my friends." On more than one occasion, I asked him for his keys, and he threw them to me without any hesitation. But as I said, Sean was more than just another Texas Aggie. He was that, which he was proud of. But to me, he was a loyal friend. To the Marines, he was an inspirational, patient, and fair leader. He was the tremendously proud father of Tristan, Kenna, Kate, and Donovan. And he was a truly devoted husband to the love of his life, Kelly. Sean, we will miss you always. Semper Fidelis.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sergeant Christian Morales, and this morning I'd like to share a short reflection on Sergeant Dylan Semolina. Today is a special day. It is a day for mourning. It is a day for grief. But most of all, it is a day for us to congregate and to celebrate the lives of our fallen brothers. One particular soul that was aboard aircraft 06 last Thursday night has been especially close to me over the course of the past 4 years. I'll never forget the day Private First Class Dylan Semolina clambered into my room one cold February day in Pensacola, Florida. The earliest memory that I have of him was watching him lace up his blue, beat-up Nike running shoes. "I'm going to go for a quick 5-mile run along the beach and explore the base a little bit," he said. The only thoughts that I could muster were that this kid was clinically insane, that there was no way that this 6'3", 220-pound dude actually wore size 9 shoes. I would never let Dylan live down the fact that he wore the exact same size shoe as my little sister. Little did I know, however, that Dylan had just sparked a fire that would carry us for the remainder of our friendship. Before I knew it, we were both routinely stomping the pavement and the sand for 3, 5, 10-mile runs amidst the tropical scenery of Naval Air Station, Pensacola, Florida. Dylan and I had our fair share of fun and tomfoolery in Pensacola that formed the foundation of an impenetrable brotherhood. Our passion for physical fitness and our love for the Marine Corps carried us onward, tackling any challenges that the Corps could throw our way as we traveled to North Carolina for mechanic and flight school. We both graduated top of our class and found out that we were Hawaii bound to be Fleet Marine Force CH-53E Super Stallion crew chiefs. I'll never forget how ironic it all was. Here we both were, roommates since Pensacola, both loved fitness, both had recruited Navy Air crew girlfriends in Pensacola who were also on Hawaii's inbound roster. It was absolutely surreal. Shortly after checking into HMH 463, both of our relationships would come to an end with our Navy girlfriends. What seemed like the end of the world now seems like a mundane part of life that we were both glad to have gone through. I'll never forget the night that we were both feeling sorry for ourselves and in the dumps. After work, we decided to buy a giant bottle of red wine from the Marine Mart. We came back to our rooms and said, we're going to skip the gym today. We found a romantic comedy on Netflix, and there we were. Two manly men who lived in the gym, bubbly on wine, watching a rom-com, shedding tears as we reminisced on our relationships. Say what you will, but we coped with the heartache together and we got through it. Before we knew it, we were both qualified flyers getting ready to embark on the 1st Marine Rotational Forces Darwin. I remember the guilt I felt at knowing he was sneaking off every night to go see his new French, Canadian, Australian, soon-to-be American girlfriend. We had all joked about bringing back Australian wives to America. Leave it to Dylan to follow through with it. Since we've been back from Australia, I learned a lot from Dylan. He taught me that the hard-headed Marine way of barking orders and yelling till you're red in the face isn't always the best way to get through to people. He taught me to be committed to something to the end. As he was getting ready to make his transition out of the Marine Corps, I never once saw him drop his pack. And finally, he taught me this. While our mission will always come first, family is something that must always take priority in life. Dylan's commitment to his wife and to his family was unwavering. I'll never forget all the times we laced up our gym shoes together, gave each other a spot in the gym, hit the pavement for a run, bumped fists before we took off on a flight together, or sobbed in our barracks room drunk off wine. The Greek philosopher Thucydides once said, "The bravest are surely those who have the clearest vision of what is before them, glory and danger alike, and yet notwithstanding go out to meet it." Sergeant Dylan Semolina had no doubts about the inherent danger that came with those golden wings that got pinned on his chest. I know that, and I hope that all of you know that. Sergeant Dylan Semolina left us doing what he loved, with the people he loved, for the people he loved. Thank you. Semper Fidelis.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sergeant Joshua Golson, and I want to talk about a fellow Marine and friend, Sergeant William Joshua Turner. The first time I met Sergeant Turner was when he came out to Australia and replaced my roommate. We were roommates for about 2 months, and in that little time, Sergeant Turner easily became a good friend. Anyone who knows Turner knows it isn't hard to be friends with him. First weekend we hung out, I went out and got a 6-pack of some local Australian beer, like most of the Marines. And then he shows up with a $6 bottle of wine. I shook my head and laughed, and he said, "What? It was $6, man." That was Turner, a hilarious, outgoing Marine who didn't care what people thought. If he wanted wine, he was going to drink wine no matter what anyone else thought. He would constantly joke with everyone at work, but in good fun.
I would joke that he thought an artichoke was a fish. If he didn't have a good comeback, his go-to joke for me was, well, I'm taller than you. Or at least I'm not a Dolphins fan. He had a good comeback for pretty much everyone. That was just who he was, a witty, intelligent, outgoing, and just a great Marine to be around. At work, he liked to have fun, but loved his job and loved flying. He had no problem selling someone off or correcting someone. He was a highly qualified crew chief with one of the highest qualifications a crew chief can have, a weapons tactics instructor. It's truly sad that something like this could happen to such a great Marine. He loved people, loved being a Marine, and loved his job. I know I will never forget Sergeant Turner and the happiness he has brought to my life and so many others. Even after he has left, his spirit lives on in his wife Elizabeth and in his family. The time I've spent with his family has shown me Sergeant Turner's spirit will live on. He was a son, a brother, a husband, a friend, a Marine. He was family. He will be missed and never forgotten. Rest in peace, brother, and Semper Fidelis.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to share a few words about Adam Scholler. I'm Sergeant Henry.
Helping me get adjusted to the
I
new
first
squad.
met Adam when checking into HMH 463 towards the end of July. Who knew what that could mean to me? As all Marines know, checking into a new duty station is an especially trying time. He was instrumental in helping me get adjusted to the new squadron. He was very kind. I felt immediately because of him. As we settled down, I began to learn the significance of his impact. He was a phenomenal Marine, which everyone respected. Though he had a tough demeanor, this was merely a front. Inside, he was kind, caring, and selfless. He put others' needs in front of his own on a constant basis. Those in flight line know he loves the squadron. He made light of tough situations, carrying us through many hard times. He was someone you could trust and talk to about anything. Deeply saddened by the loss of Adam, he was an exceptional husband, son, brother, and Marine. He is my greatest friend. What gives me solace in this very hard situation, and hope you receive so too, is remembering the witty, charming humor that he graced the world with every day. Remember, he would want us to live long, happy lives, not saddened by his loss, but we're grateful he got to share time with us. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bryce Neal. I have known Christopher Orlando since he arrived here at Kaneohe Bay. Chris was a good friend of mine, one of the happiest people I've ever met, who always had a smile on his face regardless of the situation. He loved to make people laugh, including himself. Chris and I went on this last detachment in Australia together. Anytime we went out, he would play his favorite song, Bad Blood, by Taylor Swift, and he would sing and dance like an all-star. He was one of the most caring people I've ever met. He would literally give the shirt off of his back to people in need. Sometimes he was so worried about other people, he would end up misplacing his own personal belongings. He could manage to learn their whole life story and become good friends with someone over a single cigarette, and never failed to make someone's day. He would sometimes bring me gifts in the middle of the night, such as Pedialyte and a pack of smokes, and if he wasn't doing that, he would be using my microwave. Chris also loved the water, either hanging out at the beach with friends or out surfing. At the end of the day, we would relax and have a few beers, which would most of the time lead to going to Waikiki. The thing about Chris is, if he liked you, he'd mess with you until no end. His roommate Goff seemed to catch most of this. Sometimes we'd get back from Waikiki and we'd go in his room while Goff was sleeping, and he would just start screaming at the top of his lungs. We were pretty sure Goff had nightmares from this. Chris was a great Marine and always looking after his troops. He was a hard worker and gave 100% in everything he did. All of his friends that knew him loved him dearly. There was never a dull moment around him, and he will be greatly missed. Semper Fidelis.
Good morning. We've come to celebrate and honor the life of 12 great Marines who were brothers, sons, and best friends to us. Certainly, there are not words to describe what a family or squadron goes through when they lose a son or brother. It is difficult to exact words, but I'm thankful that God knows exactly what to say, and He has left His word for us. So let us go to His word for comfort and help. I'm going to read from Lamentations chapter 3, verses 19 through 31. I'll never forget the trouble, the utter lostness, the taste of ashes, the poison I've swallowed. I remember it all. Oh, how well I remember. The feeling of hitting the bottom. But there's one other thing I remember, and remembering, I keep a grip on hope. God's loyal love couldn't have run out. His merciful love couldn't have dried up. They're created new every morning. How great your faithfulness. They were all very special and loved people. God's love is like these Marines' love, all-encompassing for people. Every single Marine loved their families very much. From the sheer number of people that are here today that have come from the mainland and from not far down the street, it's easy to see. And not only blood family, but we have all the military family here today. Those that worked, bled, sweat, and served together. Sergeant Semolina loved to cuddle his dear wife. And if we're honest, most everyone here is a cuddler. And Corporal Jardis had the wide spectrum of loving to cuddle, all the way from loving to mop the floor. To protect the innocents, I'll just say one of them was called Mr. Comfy, Mr. Cuddly, and Mr. Snuggly. What I've learned from the families that gave this information, don't always trust the stern official military pictures. It is, of course, it should go without saying that they all loved flying. Some, like Corporal Hart, thoroughly enjoyed and loved anything with the classic smiley face on it. Corporal Jardis was loved by his high school and was the face of his newscast. He had a great smile, always lighting up the room that he went into. Major Campbell had a deep love of God and all things theological. I was told by a colleague that he was impressed as a chaplain at Major Campbell's theological library. He apparently had more Bibles on one bookshelf than the whole chaplain's house. Corporal Drown was scared to death of roller coasters. And yet, he signed up to fly in helicopters. Love of the Corps. Sergeant Scholler loved his family so much, he invited his mother to his bachelor party. It's a true story. He then asked her if it was okay that she was now his number 2 girl. Sergeant Turner loved his dog very much and decided the best name for him was Hank. Yes, you heard me correctly, Hank. Corporal Orlando was humble and, like so many of us, good at losing his phone. He would say, "Oh, lost another one. Take me to Verizon." Sergeant Sempler, being as unique in his study efforts as he was, earned the nickname Creature Underway. He was a quiet, very smart bookworm. He was a great teacher. Those that were under him knew he had a Marine respect and love for them. These Marines were very funny. They had a great sense of humor. and most were the life of the party. Joy and happiness was no stranger to them. Listening to the great stories people have been telling me this past week have made me smile. Captain Torbert loved impersonations and would use them to lighten the mood and make people feel comfortable. Captain Kennedy loved karaoke and especially loved doing Creed impersonations. Okay. Not limited to only that, but he was known to ask ridiculous and humorous medical questions to the flight surgeon. I'm going to need to talk to that flight surgeon later. I'd like to know those. But God has joy for us, good cheer for us, and love for us. As we read, God's love will never run out. God's mercy could not have dried up. We have God's unlimited faithfulness, and his mercies are new every morning. When the Israelites were wandering the desert, God provided manna from heaven every morning for them. It was exactly what they needed for each day. By God's miraculous power, it appeared every day, and just like that manna, his love, strength, peace, and mercy will appear to you each morning. Being a Marine means that you sacrifice many things in life. Part of that sacrifice was growing and evolving personally and professionally from either enlisted or officer training. There are many long hours that not only the Marine puts in, but also the sacrifice the spouses make to support the mission. All these Marines were selfless. Captain Roach was no different. One afternoon in his Iraq and Afghanistan tour, he ended up flying around just the airfield. It may or may not have apparently earned him his call sign. You all have a great sense of humor with your call signs. Today we remember those that love life, and everyone here today is a part of that good life that they loved. Because of God's sacrifice, we have hope for tomorrow. Because of Christ's ultimate act of love and sacrifice on the cross, we can grip hope. We can have eternal life. We can stick with God. We can stick with God because he never will walk out and fail to return. In the days ahead, we are assured that God will be with us. He is all I have left. Say it over and over. I am sticking with God. 3 things are suggested in the days ahead. Go off alone to meet with God, enter the silence, and bow in prayer. Remember, wait for hope to appear. The worst is never the worst, because the Master won't ever walk out and fail to return. So when we ask, what do we do now? We will answer, grip hope, and I will stick with God. And I invite you to say the Lord's Prayer with me, a part of your faith tradition. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we have forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Please rise for the Marines' prayer and remain standing for the remainder of the service.
Let us pray. Almighty Father, whose command is over all, and whose love never fails, make me aware of thy presence and obedient to thy will. Keep me true to my best self, guarding me against dishonesty in purpose and deed, and helping me to live so that I can face my fellow Marines, my loved ones, and thee without shame or fear. Protect my family. Give me the will to do the work of a Marine and to accept my share of responsibilities with vigor and enthusiasm. Grant me the courage to be proficient in my daily performance. Keep me loyal and faithful to my superiors and to the duties my country and the Marine Corps have entrusted to me. Make me considerate of those committed to my leadership. Help me to wear my uniform with dignity, and let it remind me daily of the traditions which I must uphold. If I am inclined to doubt, steady my faith. If I am tempted, make me strong to resist. If I should miss the mark, give me courage to try again. Guide me with the light of truth, and grant me the wisdom by which I may understand the answer to my prayer. Amen.
Major Bellinger. Present. Captain Wallace. Present. Master Sergeant Vernon. Present. Captain Roche. Captain Kevin Roche. Captain Kevin T. Roche. Captain Kennedy. Captain Brian Kennedy. Captain Brian T. Kennedy. Sergeant Simpler. Sergeant Jeffrey Simpler. Sergeant Jeffrey A. Simpler. Corporal Drow. Corporal Matthew Drow. Corporal Matthew R. Drow. Corporal Jordan. Corporal Thomas Jordan. Corporal Thomas J. Jordan. Lance Corporal Hart. Lance Corporal Ty Hart. Lance Corporal Ty L. Hart. Captain Torbert. Captain Stephen Torbert. Captain Steve R. Torbert. Major Campbell. Major Sean Campbell. Major Sean M. Campbell. Sergeant Scholler. Sergeant Adam Scholler. Sergeant Adam C. Scholler. Sergeant Semolina. Sergeant Dylan Semolina. Sergeant Dylan J. Semolina. Sergeant Turner. Sergeant William Turner. Sergeant William J. Turner. Corporal Orlando. Corporal Christopher Orlando. Corporal Christopher J. Orlando. Order up! Right, face it. With blank ammunition. Load. Ready. Aim. Fire. Ready. Aim.
Once again, you're invited to pray along with me in your faith tradition, as I'll be praying in mine. Let us pray. All-comforting God, you've given us your word, you're here with us. Your love is our foundation. Your presence, a healing balm to us. In the coming weeks, months, and years, I pray for those that are hurting here today. Bless them, keep them, may your face shine upon them. In life, we don't know why horrible things happen, but we do know we can count on you to always be by our side through every situation. Your commitment to us is always steadfast, and as this service now draws to a close, we remember how precious the gift of life is that you have given us. May we live each day to the fullest, all the while remembering your great and never-ending love. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated and remain seated to allow the families time to pay their respects. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our memorial service. Following the official party and the Marines of HMH 463, you are invited to please come forward to offer your personal prayer. Thank you for attending.